Shelter or segregation? America's new answer to homelessness. In the shadows of the Wasatch Mountains, northwest of Salt Lake City, a new kind of community is rising. 16 acres of land that will soon hold 1,300 beds. Officials call it a services-based homeless campus, the first of its kind. To some, it's a bold act of compassion. To others, it's a troubling echo of the past. Because this idea of concentrating the poor, the broken, and the displaced in one controlled place is not new. It bears the faint, familiar outline of something America once knew well: the poor farm. The case for order, safety, and support proponents why this is the humane evolution of social care. That the scattered tent cities, the makeshift shelters beneath overpasses, and the public parks turned into encampments are neither safe nor sustainable. A centralized campus, they argue, offers structure. A place where people can find not only a bed, but a pathway. Where medical care, job training, addiction recovery, and mental health counseling all exist within reach. Instead of chasing the homeless from corner to corner, cities can finally bring them into an environment built for dignity and recovery. And there's truth in that. For many living on the street, survival is a daily negotiation between hunger, violence, and weather. A campus could mean safety, stability, and the first step toward rebuilding a life. Some call it a moral obligation, not to let people freeze on sidewalks in the name of freedom. The case against: control, containment, and choice. But others see a different story taking shape. They see the new campus as a modern poor farm, where poverty is not cured, but hidden. Because when homelessness becomes illegal, choice disappears. And when shelter is mandated by law, compassion becomes compliance. Critics ask, will these campuses be communities or compounds? Will the people who live there have agency, or will they simply be managed? The history of poor farms warns us that good intentions can harden into institutions, that the desire to fix the poor often becomes the desire to control them. And while the rhetoric promises rehabilitation, the reality could be regulation, turning social work into surveillance and public policy into quiet exile. The historical mirror. In the 19th century, nearly every state built poor farms, rural institutions meant to house the destitute. They began as refugees, but evolved into places of stigma and neglect, where poverty was criminalized and labor was coerced. We ended poor farms because we believed America had grown beyond that kind of containment, that poverty required understanding, not isolation. Now the debate returns. Are we reimagining care or repackaging control? The gray middle, the uncomfortable truth. Perhaps the truth lies in neither extreme. Maybe the Utah model is both, an act of mercy and a mirror of our fears. Because the problem is not simply where people sleep, it is why they have nowhere to sleep in the first place. The rising cost of living, the collapse of affordable housing, the mental health crisis no one funds, the addiction epidemic no one treats deeply enough. If the campus becomes a bridge, a place where lives are restored and independence is rebuilt, then it could be a model of redemption. But if it becomes a holding pen for the unwanted, a modern version of the poor farm, fenced with policy instead of barbed wire, then it will stand as a monument to our failure to face the causes of poverty, not just its symptoms. So the question before us isn't only political, it's profoundly moral. When does help become control? When does safety become silence? And can a nation that outlaws homelessness ever truly claim to have conquered it? Because in the end, the measure of any society is not how it hides its poor, but how it heals them. Something to think about and pray about. Have a good day. Shelter or segregation? America's new answer to homelessness. Here are some news reports and debatable opinions about this exact topic. I hope you enjoy it.
Homeless individuals will be given the option to leave their encampment, to be taken to a homeless shelter, to be offered addiction or mental health services, and if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time.
The social media post about moving them very far outside of the city, is that off?
No, it's not off. We're exploring how we could do that.
It's just hard all the way around.
Salt Lake City native Tom spent most of his life homeless, and he's seeing more people join him now behind the Rio Grande.
It's really hard. There's so many people out here now. We all try to help each other what little bit we can.
With the closure of the troubled Road Home Shelter in 2019, state and local leaders intended to move away from warehousing people and instead focus on moving them off the streets for good.
All right, so this is the early morning shot, kind of, after a night of rain and wind. This is how our camp looks. That's a Wi-Fi and phone charging station, our supply camper. Thank you, OAS. New people have moved in, new people have moved out, old people moved out. I'd like to give everybody a little bit of background. My husband and I started Fort Pioneer when we came to Salt Lake City, Utah, homeless a year ago. We had no idea the extent of homelessness. My husband and I are what we call situationally homeless. We made a bad financial decision and we ended up here homeless.
The first Trump slave camp is now being built in Utah. That is not hyperbole, all right? This is following President Donald Trump's executive order on homelessness. Utah is building a massive internment camp where homeless people will be sent to and forced to perform hard labor.
So now I found out that they are literally building a concentration camp in Utah for the homeless.
Work for shelter camps in Utah where people just are casually not admitted or released by their own volition and don't mind the hidden evidence of human cremation there.
All right. One of them is popping up in Utah due to Trump increasing fines, and he's basically tried to make homelessness illegal, which is unlawful. Which is basically authorized now them to kidnap homeless people off the street.
Put up more of these alligator Alcatraz style mega tent sprung structure type facilities. They've got the kind of pilot project for that in Utah where the governor has said we are going to completely support and implement Trump's executive order. And just last week, their homelessness board, which was created by some Cicero legislation, they passed a plan for a 1,300 person megatent camp 7 miles outside of downtown in the middle of nowhere, no public transportation. 300 beds are going to be involuntarily committed, locked facilities. Another set of beds are going to be no voluntary entry or exit. It's going to be where you get sent for jail diversion. And then the rest of the beds, even though theoretically you could come and go, they're going to be actively enforcing anti-camping, anti-loitering, all these other laws. The thing that scares me the most is that they say some of these units are going to be work-conditioned housing, which to me means forced labor. And we've seen some of these other bills introduced at the state level that also have this forced labor element to them in Louisiana and West Virginia.
We now have our first involuntary camps in the United States. The Trump administration has taken 16 acres outside of Salt Lake City, where they are holding homeless people. They're calling it a service campus, but others are calling it a prison.